Rhea stopped at the beach in Santa Monica. She did not wait for a signal or anything, nor did she waste time. She jumped right into the water. Something rubbed against her leg. Sliding along beside her was a 5-foot-long mako shark. The shark was nuzzling her like a puppy for attention. She grabbed the fin with both hands. It took off, pulling her along. The shark carried her down into the darkness. It deposited her at the edge of the ocean proper, where the sandbank dropped off into a huge chasm. It was like standing on the rim of the Grand Canyon at midnight, not being able to see much but knowing the void was right there. The surface shimmered maybe 150 feet above Rhea. Jackson, yeah, not to be rude or anything, but can you give me the 3 pearls? I'm kinda in a hurry, Rhea quickly said. A hand brushed against her cheek and the face of the woman became clearer, and at that moment Rhea knew that his woman was not the same Nereid in the Mississippi. The aura was different. It was more regal, a gorgeously beautiful woman with black hair pinned back in a net of pearls and silk, with mocha dark eyes and a kind smile. Interesting. She tilted her head, the smile still on her face. The messenger was right. Rhea continued to look at her. Your Amphitrite, she said while brushing Rhea's stay hair to the side. Amphitrite took Rhea's hand in hers and put the 3 pearls in her palm before she closed Rhea's hand in a fist. Safe travel, young one, she said as she kissed her cheek before disappearing. Rhea was too stunned to speak, and that's how the other 2 found her, the expression of shock still on her face. Rhea, are you alright? What happened? Annabeth asked. I think I'm going to steal Amphitrite from my father and keep her to myself. Rhea then laughed at the horrified look on both Annabeth and Grover's face. Kidding, but I do want to have dinner with Amphitrite from time to time. She's nice. Never joke about that, Grover warned. Rhea closed the door of the car as she got in. Annabeth sat on the passenger seat beside her. So she gave me these pearls as a free escape. I know what you're going to say before you even say it. There's no such thing as a free meal, but trust me, these are legit. She looked at the pearls. I wonder if I will be able to create something like this one day. Grover, who sat at the back, meet Rhea's eyes, thought the rear view mirror. Maybe it smells of sea magic. The more you know. Well, to the underworld we go. I was able to find some nymphs that can take my car to Camp Half-Blood, so I don't have to say goodbye to it. Rhea smiled. So the underworld. They stood in the shadows of Valencia Boulevard, looking up at gold letters etched in black marble. DOA Recording Studios underneath, stenciled on the glass doors. No solicitors, no loitering, no living. It was almost midnight, but the lobby was brightly lit and full of people. Behind the security desk sat a tough-looking guard with sunglasses and an earpiece. What if we don't make it alive? Annabeth bit her lip. Rhea deadpanned. Annabeth, I will slap the negativity out of you, she said while showing Annabeth her hand. We will make it. Annabeth nodded. I'm sorry Rhea, you're right, we'll make it. It'll be fine. She gave Grover a nudge. Oh right, he chimed in, we got this far, we'll find the master bolt and save your mom. No problem. They walked inside the DOA lobby. Music played softly on hidden speakers. The carpet and walls were steel gray. Pencil cactuses grew in the corners like skeleton hands. The furniture was black leather and every seat was taken. There were people sitting on couches, people standing up, people staring out the windows or waiting for the elevator. Nobody moved or talked or did much of anything, nor was Rhea planning on talking with the souls. The security guard's desk was a raised podium, so they had to look up at him. He was tall and elegant with chocolate-colored skin and bleached blonde hair, shaved military style. He wore tortoise-shell shades and a silk Italian suit that matched his hair. A black rose was pinned to his lapel under a silver name tag. Your name is? Rhea frowned. I'm sorry sir, can you tell me? He leaned across the desk and his smile was sweet and cold, like a python's right before it eats you. What a precious young lady. He had a strange accent, British maybe, but also as if he had learned English as a second language. It says Charon. Say it with me, Charon. Mr. Charon. Well done. He sat back. Good thing you didn't confused me with that centaur. I hate being confused with that old horseman. And now how may I help you, little dead ones? Oh yeah, about that, we're not dead, Rhea said with a smile while the 2 behind her face palmed. We're on a quest and I'm trying to clear my name. You see, being called a thief without proof, and I want an audience. So she put a pouch of drachma in front of him. This will be yours if you let us pass and see Hades. She took out another pouch. And this will be yours when we arrive at the other side of the river Styx. Karen looked at her for a moment. I like your way of thinking. Oh wow, with the way you talk it's like Hades doesn't pay you well enough for such hard work. Rhea said, oh, you don't know the half of it. How would you like to babysit these spirits all day always? Please don't let me be dead, or please let me across for free. I haven't had a pay raise in 3,000 years. Do you imagine suits like this come cheap? Karen complained. Death Is freedom. If I saw the Natos I would kiss him. Rhea said. Karen snapped his head to her direction. Oh, you have issues. I will mention a pay raise while I'm talking to Hades. Rhea said. He sighed. The boat's almost full anyway, I might as well add you 3 and be off. He stood, scooped up the pouch of money and said, come along. They pushed through the crowd of waiting spirits who started grabbing at their clothes like the wind, their voices whispering things Rhea couldn't make out. Karen shoved them out of the way, grumbling. Freeloaders. He escorted the 3 into the elevator, which was already crowded with souls of the dead, each one holding a green boarding pass. Karen grabbed 2 spirits who were trying to get on with them and pushed them back into the lobby. Right now no one get any ideas while I'm gone, he announced to the waiting room, and if anyone moves the dial off my easy listening station again, I'll make sure you're here for another 1,000 years, understand? He shut the doors. He put a key card into a slot in the elevator panel and we started to descend. What happens to the spirits waiting in the lobby? Annabeth asked. Nothing, Karen said. For how long? Forever, or until I'm feeling generous. Oh, she said. That's fair. Karen raised an eyebrow. Whoever said death was fair? Young miss, wait until it's your turn. You'll die soon enough. Where you're going we could surprise you, Rhea said with a smirk. We'll see about that. Everything got a sudden dizzy. They weren't going down anymore but forward. The air turned misty. Spirits around them started changing shape. Their modern clothes flickered, turning into grey hooded robes. The floor of the elevator began swaying. Karen's creamy Italian suit had been replaced by a long black robe. His tortoise-shell glasses were gone. Where his eyes should have been were empty sockets like Ares's eyes, except Karen's were totally dark, full of night and death and despair. He saw Rhea looking and said, well, this reminds me of something. Rhea said while smiling at him, although she couldn't see it clearly because the flesh of his face was becoming transparent, letting Rhea see straight through to his skull. She could tell that he was amused. The floor kept swaying. Grover said, I think I'm getting seasick. The elevator wasn't an elevator anymore. They were standing in a wooden barge. Karen was pulling them across a dark oily river swirling with bones, dead fish and other stranger things, plastic dolls, crushed carnations, soggy diplomas with gilt edges. The river Styx, Annabeth murmured. It's so polluted. Karen said, for thousands of years you humans have been throwing in everything as you come across, hopes, dreams, wishes that never came true. Irresponsible waste management. If you ask me, you can expect nothing more from humanity. They are filth. Poseidonus commented out loud. Rhea just smiled. Mist curled off the filthy water above them. Almost lost in the gloom was a ceiling of stalactites ahead. The far shore glimmered with greenish light, the color of poison. Annabeth grabbed hold of Rhea's hand for comfort. A sound came from somewhere nearby in the green gloom, echoing off the stones, the howl of a large animal. Old Three-Face is hungry, Karen said. His smile turned skeletal in the greenish light. Bad luck for you godlings. The bottom of their boat slid onto the black sand. The dead began to disembark, a woman holding a little girl's hand, an old man and an old woman hobbling along arm in arm, a boy no older than they were shuffling silently along in his grey robe. Karen said, I'd wish you luck, mate, but there isn't any down here. Mind you don't forget to mention my pay raise. Oh, right here. Rhea handed him the pouch. Never thought you would keep your promise, Karen confessed. I am many things, Karen, but when I say I will do or give something, I keep my word. Rhea said. He counted the golden coins inside the pouch, then took up his pole. He warbled something that sounded like a Barry Manilow song as he ferried the empty barge back across the river. They followed the spirits up a well-worn path. There were 3 separate entrances under one huge black archway that said, you are now entering Erebos. Each entrance had a pass-through metal detector with security cameras mounted on top. Beyond this were tollbooths manned by black-robed ghouls like Karen. The howling of the hungry animal was really loud now, and right in the front Rhea could see Cerberus clearly, but not enough for her to see what breed he was. The dead queued up in the 3 lines, 2 marked attendant on duty and 1 marked easy death. The easy death line was moving right along, the other 2 were crawling. The fast line must go straight to the asphodel fields. She said, no contest. They don't want to risk judgment from the court because it might go against them. They got closer to the gates. The howling was so loud now it shook the ground at their feet. And that's Cerberus, Rhea said out loud. He's a Rottweiler. What? Grover was confused for a second till his vision cleared. Oh, Cerberus, a purebred Rottweiler twice the size of a woolly mammoth and had 3 heads. The dead walked right up to him, no fear at all. The attendant on duty lines parted on either side of him. The easy death spirits walked right between his front paws and under his belly, which they could do without even crouching. Why do I see him better? Grover gulped. I think. Annabeth moistened her lips. I'm afraid It's because we were getting closer to being dead y'all couldn't see him since the start, Rhea asked, confused before it hit her. Oh right, I remember why now. Thankfully she got ignored. The dog's middle head craned toward them. It sniffed the air and growled. He smells the living, Rhea stated. But that's okay, Grover said, trembling next to me, because we have a plan, right? Annabeth said, her voice sound quite so small. A plan? By the sound of yours voices I can tell. In fact there is no plan, Rhea. That doesn't make me feel better. Grover trembled. They moved toward the monster. The middle head snarled at them, then barked so loud their eyeballs rattled. What's it saying? Rhea asked. I don't think humans have a 4-letter word that translates exactly. Dang, I really wanted to know. I hate dogs. But Rhea said while fetching the basketball from her bag. See the ball? You want the ball? You do want it, don't you? If you do, then sit. Cerberus looked as stunned as Annabeth and Grover were, all three of his heads cocked sideways, 6 nostrils dilated. Sit, Rhea said this time more firmly. Cerberus licked his 3 sets of lips, shifted on his haunches and sat immediately, crushing a dozen spirits who'd been passing underneath him in the easy death line. The spirits made muffled hisses as they dissipated like the air let out of tires. Such a good boy. Rhea threw Cerberus the ball. He caught it in his middle mouth. It was barely big enough for him to chew, and the other heads started snapping at the middle, trying to get the new toy. Drop it, Rhea said with a firm voice. Like before, Cerberus's head stopped fighting and looked at her. The ball was wedged between 2 of his teeth like a tiny piece of gum. He made a loud scary whimper, then dropped the ball, now slimy and bitten nearly in half, at Rhea's feet. Good boy. Rhea picked up the ball after getting rid of the monster. Spit all over it. On your back, Cerberus. Cerberus obeyed and laid on his back, belly up. Good boy, you're a very good boy. Belly rubs. Cerberus' tail started to wag like crazy. Rhea could only scratch the side of his belly, but it was enough to make one of his back paw twitch in delight. Oh, you're a good boy. Yes, yes, you are, Rhea cooed, but we need to go now. You can keep the ball. Cerberus started to whimper and gave her the sad puppy look. Oh baby, I'm so sorry. Rhea tried to resist. Cerberus gave her a small lick and whimpered more. You can search for me on the surface to play if you want, Rhea said, unsure. Apparently that was enough to brighten his mood. Grover and Annabeth pushed her through the metal detector, which immediately screamed and set off flashing red lights. Unauthorized possessions. Magic detected. Cerberus started to bark. They burst through the easy death gate, which started even more alarms blaring, and raced into the underworld. A few minutes later they were hiding out of breath in the rotten trunk of an immense black tree as security ghouls scuttled past yelling for backup from the Furies. Rhea could hear the mournful keening of Cerberus in the distance. I thought you hated dogs, Grover said. Well, Cerberus is an exception, it seems, Rhea said. I really hope to see him again. The underworld, in simple words, was a little dark, a little gloomy, and as always full of dead people. What are you gonna do, Grover? Give me the flying shoes, please, Rhea said. Grover frowned. Why? Rhea gave him a look, and Grover pouted before he took off the shoes. Thank you. Rhea grabbed the shoes from its laces in one hand. As they continue walking, they tried to blend into the crowd, keeping an eye out for security ghouls. They crept along, following the line of new arrivals that snaked from the main gates toward a black tented pavilion with a banner that read Judgments for Elysium and Eternal Damnation. Welcome newly deceased. Out the back of the tent came 2 much smaller lines to the left. Spirits flanked by security ghouls were marched down a rocky path toward the fields of punishment, which glowed and smoked in the distance, a vast cracked wasteland with rivers of lava and minefields and miles of barbed wire separating the different torture areas. Even from far away you can see people being chased by hellhounds, burned at the stake, forced to run naked through cactus patches or listen to opera music. Rhea squinted her eyes. Isn't that Sisyphus pushing the boulder? Grover squinted his eyes too. Yep, that's him. Oh, there's goes the boulder down the hill. Rhea pointed at the boulder that rolled down the hill. Even if I can't hear it, I can tell he's screaming. Annabeth said, let's go. Is it bad that I find it funny? Rhea said, and the other two shrugged. The line coming from the right side of the Judgment Pavilion was much better. This one led down toward a small valley surrounded by walls, a gated community which seemed to be the only happy part of the underworld. Beyond the security gate were neighborhoods of beautiful houses from every time period in history. Roman villas and medieval castles and Victorian mansions. Silver and gold flowers bloomed on the lawns. The grass rippled in rainbow colors. They could hear laughter and smell barbecue cooking. Elysium. In the middle of that valley was a glittering blue lake with 3 small islands like a vacation resort in the Bahamas, the Isles of the Blessed, for people who had chosen to be reborn 3 times and 3 times achieved Elysium. Elysium is beautiful, Rhea said. That's what it's all about, Annabeth said. That's the place for heroes. It's depressing how small it is. Only few people do good in life, Rhea said. I can tell I won't end up there. Annabeth cringed. Don't be ridiculous. We will do the right thing and hope for the best. The idea of death was uncomfortable to her. Rhea snorted. No really, I belong more in Tartarus with how twisted my mind is. They left the Judgment Pavilion and moved deeper into the asphodel fields. It got darker. The colors faded from their clothes. The crowds of chattering spirits began to thin. After a few miles of walking they began to hear a familiar screech in the distance. Looming on the horizon was a palace of glittering black obsidian. Above the parapets swirled 3 dark bat-like creatures. The Furies. I suppose it's too late to turn back, Grover said wistfully. It will be alright. Maybe we should search some of the other places first, Grover suggested, like Elysium for instance. Come on, Goat Boy. Annabeth grabbed his arm suddenly. The sneakers in Rhea's hands sprouted wings and shot forward. Rhea released the shoes. Where is it going? Annabeth ran after the shoes and was followed by Grover. Rhea took her sweet time and walked after them. The shoes were going to barrel straight through the gates of Hades's palace before they veered sharply to the right in the opposite direction, and then Annabeth and Grover stopped dead in their tracks after seeing what was inside the tunnel. The tunnel widened into a huge dark cavern, and in the middle was a chasm the size of a city block, and the shoes went right into the hole. This is Annabeth looked uncomfortable. The entrance to Tartarus, Rhea said. There was something, a deep whisper in the darkness. Rhea frowned and concentrated. It's not ancient Greek. Another few seconds and Annabeth said, Rhea, we need to. Rhea raised a finger to stop her. For a moment the sound was getting louder, a muttering evil voice from far, far below them, coming from the pit. Come to me, give it to me, I shall rise and destroy you. Rhea shivered. Grover sat up. What's that noise? We have to get out of here, Annabeth said. Together they walked back up the tunnel, and suddenly Rhea's backpack gained weight. The voice got louder and angrier behind them. Run. If we don't start running, I fear that we will fall into the pit the hard way, Rhea said before they broke into a run. A cold blast of wind pulled at their backs as if the entire pit were inhaling. They kept struggling forward and finally reached the top of the tunnel where the cavern widened out into the fields of asphodel. The wind died. A wail of outrage echoed from deep in the tunnel. Curse you, what was that? Grover panted, and they collapsed in the relative safety of a black poplar grove. Tartarus, it's as if the primordial was trying to inhale us, Rhea said. Bleehee, I don't want to be food. Rhea sighed and stood up. Let's keep going, we can't waste any more time. Annabeth turned to Grover. Can you walk? He swallowed. Yeah sure, I never liked those shoes anyway. He tried to sound brave about it, but he was trembling as badly as Annabeth and Rhea were. They were almost relieved to turn their back on that tunnel and head toward the palace of Hades. Almost the Furies circled the parapets high in the gloom. The outer walls of the fortress glittered black, and the 2-story tall bronze gates stood wide open. Up close the engravings on the gates were scenes of death. Some were from modern times, an atomic bomb exploding over a city, a trench filled with gas mask wearing soldiers, a line of African famine victims waiting with empty bowls, but all of them looked as if they'd been etched into the bronze thousands of years ago. Inside the courtyard was a garden. Multicolored mushrooms, poisonous shrubs and weird luminous plants grew without sunlight. Precious jewels made up for the lack of flowers. Piles of rubies as big as my fist, clumps of raw diamonds. In the center of the garden was an orchard of pomegranate trees, their orange blooms neon bright in the dark. The garden of Persephone, Annabeth said. Keep walking. No. Rhea grabbed and pulled Grover away to keep him from picking a big juicy one. You don't want to get stuck in the underworld, and Grover snapped out of it. Thanks. They walked up the steps of the palace between black columns, through a black marble portico and into the house of Hades. The entry hall had a polished bronze floor which seemed to boil in the reflected torchlight. There was no ceiling, just the cavern roof. Far above every side doorway was guarded by a skeleton in military gear. Some wore Greek armor, some British redcoat uniforms, some camouflage with tattered American flags on the shoulders. They carried spears or muskets or M16s. None of them bothered them, but their hollow eye sockets followed them as they walked down the hall toward the big set of doors at the opposite end. 2U.S marine skeletons guarded the doors. They grinned down at the 3 demigods. Rocket-propelled grenade launchers held across their chests. You know, Grover mumbled. I bet Hades doesn't have trouble with door-to-door salesmen. Rhea narrowed her eyes when her backpack weighed more again. The weight didn't bother her, but it was the problem it will bring that did. A hot wind blew down the corridor and the doors swung open. The guards stepped aside. I guess that means Entrez-vous, Annabeth said. Right inside was Hades sitting on his throne. He was at least 10 feet tall for one thing, and dressed in black silk robes and a crown of braided gold. His skin was albino white, his hair shoulder length and jet black. He wasn't bulked up like Ares, but he radiated power. He lounged on his throne of fused human bones, looking lithe, graceful and dangerous as a panther. To know if I just have high standards that are impossible to reach or something, but I don't find him handsome at all. Rhea mumbled, if they weren't in front of Hades, Grover would have kicked her. You are brave to come here, daughter of Poseidon, he said in an oily voice. After what you have done to me, very brave indeed, or perhaps you are simply very foolish, Lord and Uncle, Rhea said with a bored voice. I come with one request. Hades raised an eyebrow when he sat forward in his throne. Shadowy faces appeared in the folds of his black robes, faces of torment, as if the garment were stitched of trapped souls from the fields of punishment trying to get out. Only one request, Hades said. Arrogant child, as if you have not already taken enough. Speak then, it amuses me not to strike you dead yet. Rhea wanted to backtalk so bad, and goddamn it, she had a whole 2 hours speech to tear him down, but she bit her tongue, not out of fear or respect. It was because she didn't want to destroy her own plan. Give me my mother back, Rhea said. That's why I came here. What? Annabeth was taken aback. No, we came here for the bold. Hades's eyes grew dangerously bright at what Annabeth said before. He glared at Rhea like she's the one who caused all the miseries in his life. You dare keep up this pretense? After what you have done? The fuck did I do? Rhea said. The throne room shook with a tremor so strong they probably felt it upstairs in Los Angeles. Debris fell from the cavern ceiling, doors burst open all along the walls, and skeletal warriors marched in, hundreds of them from every time period and nation in Western civilization. They lined the perimeter of the room, blocking the exits. Hades bellowed, do you think I want war, godling? Rhea stayed silent. You are the lord of the dead, Annabeth said carefully. A war would expand your kingdom, right? Rhea's eyes widened as she looked at Annabeth. Hold on, a typical thing that my brothers would say. Do you think I need more subjects? Did you not see the sprawl of the asphodel fields? Wait a minute, why did she say that? Rhea's eye was twitching madly. Have you any idea how much my kingdom has swollen in this past century alone? How many subdivisions I've had to open, more security ghouls, he moaned, traffic problems at the Judgment Pavilion, double overtime for the staff. I used to be a rich god. I control all the precious metals under the earth, but my expenses, oh yeah, that's reminds me, Karen wants a pay raise. Rhea added fuel to the fire. Since it was going that way, why stop it? Don't get me started on Karen, Hades yelled. He's been impossible ever since he discovered Italian suits. Problems everywhere, and I've got to handle all of them personally. The commute time alone from the palace to the gates is enough to drive me insane, and the dead just keep arriving. No, godling, I need no help getting subjects. I did not ask for this war. Ares accused you of stealing Zeus's master bolt, and so does Chiron. Rhea bit her lip to not laugh. I spend too much time with Loki. This is bad. Lies. More rumbling. Hades rose from his throne, towering to the height of a football goalpost. Your father may fool Zeus, girl, but I am not so stupid. I see his plan. You were the thief on the winter solstice, he said. Your father thought to keep you his little secret. He directed you into the throne room on Olympus. You took the master bolt and my helm. Had I not sent my fury to discover you at York Academy, Poseidon might have succeeded in hiding his scheme to start a war, but now you have been forced into the open. You will be exposed as Poseidon's thief, and I will have my helm back. With each word that came from Hades's mouth, Rhea's anger grew more and more. The accusation without proof weighed on her even when she tried to ignore it, and she couldn't reason with anyone, since they won't listen, nor will Hades try to reason because he's a god. Did you finish throwing a tantrum like a 5-year-old mortal germling, or are you yet not ready to start speaking like the god you are? Rhea said coldly with a sneer. Annabeth and Grover froze. Everything and everyone inside the room froze. The atmosphere was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Even Hades was taken by surprise as he saw the cold look in her eyes. Then Rhea started to speak again. How can you be so pathetic? Hades glared at her. What? Rhea scoffed. I am saying that for someone acting so damn high and mighty, all you seem to be good at is running your mouth. Hades's anger was clear to everyone in the room, but what was surprising is the fact he didn't do anything about it. There was something wrong with that girl at that moment. There was a familiar sensation of death surrounding her. Gods are supposed to be perfect, strong, intelligent, competent. They do not need scheming. They do not need armies. They do not need supporters, nor do they have a need for betrayal, and they certainly don't whine at others when things don't go their way. And yet you, Zeus and Poseidon, are the farthest things from what the gods should portray. Annabeth was scared because she started to wonder if the one talking down to a god was really the same Rhea that she knows. But if there is anything I am sure of, is that the so-called big three are definitely related. After all, they share the same unredeemable qualities. The three of you are incompetent. You are liars. First, not only did Zeus lose his symbol, but he had the audacity to frame someone else for it. Rhea sneered. Then there is Poseidon. If him not being in his own child's life was to make the child stronger, I could have respected him, but no, his lack of presence shows nothing but weakness and cowardice. And let's not forget about you, oh so great and mighty Lord of the dead. You feel wronged for being shunned, and yet you falsely accused the people here of a crime they did not commit. Lord of the dead, my ass, you, she points at Hades, are nothing more than a child who feels abandoned. You probably agreed to go to the underworld so fast and without a fight to stay close to your dear daddy. That last comment made Hades stand up from his throne. You will not speak to me like to. Rhea cut him off, but she didn't scream or raise her voice. On the contrary, her voice kept the same tone like a sea with no waves. I will speak to you however the hell I want to speak to you, you insignificant piece of shit. As Rhea said that, she started approaching Hades's throne. The Lord of the Dead unconsciously started to back off till he fell on his throne. I will only say this one time, give me what was asked of you and we will be on our way. At that point Annabeth realized something that was not Rhea talking. She run up to the daughter of the sea and grabbed her. Rhea snapped out of it. Rhea looked back at Annabeth. Sure enough, Rhea's eyes were blue, but it wasn't the same deep dark blue when the sea daughter gets angry. No, this was a different blue. It's the surface of the sea. And for a moment Rhea seemed to be in a trance, but then she blinked and her eyes returned to the normal sea green. Rhea's eyes widened like she realized something. Oh shit. She grabbed Annabeth's arm and Grover's before she took out the 3 pearls and gave each of them one. I'm sorry for the insults, kinda. Rhea told him play with Cerberus once in a while. He likes to play with balls and belly rubs. Then she glared, and I swear to you, Hades, if you don't return me my mother, the horrors of Tartarus will be a sauna compared to what I will do. Hades then came back to his senses. Rhea Jackson, you will not now. Guys, they smashed the pearls at their feet. For a scary moment nothing happened. Hades yelled, destroy them. The army of skeletons rushed forward, swords out, guns clicking to full automatic. The Furies lunged, their whips bursting into flame. The only things they saw before the 3 disappeared was Rhea giving them the middle fingers with both hands. I was about to faint. Who the heck speaks to the Lord of the Dead like that? I can't believe it, Grover stuttered, his voice shaking with fear. She spoke to Hades like that? The Lord of the Dead? I thought I was going to lose my mind in there. One wrong move and he could have turned us into ghosts, and yet Rhea had the nerve to speak to him with such disrespect. I don't know how we made it out alive. Rhea, what was that in there? Annabeth asked. If I knew I would have told you, Rhea said while looking down at her bracelet. They ended up in the middle of the Santa Monica Bay, knocking a surfer off his board with an indignant dude. Rhea grabbed Grover and hauled him over to a life buoy. She did the same for Annabeth. A curious shark was circling them, a great white about 11 feet long. Rhea pet the shark. Return to the deep. It's dangerous to be close to humans here. The shark gave her a soft nudge before he turned and raced away. The surfer screamed something about bad mushrooms and paddled away from them as fast as he could. It's early morning, June 19. Rhea said in the distance Los Angeles was on fire, plumes of smoke rising from neighborhoods all over the city. There had been an earthquake, all right, and it was Hades's fault. He was probably sending an army of the dead after Rhea right now. Ares better hope I don't make kebab out of him, Rhea said. Rhea pulled Annabeth and Grover underwater after she created an oxygen bubble around them, then swam fast with Grover and Annabeth's hands in hers. It didn't take much for them to reach dry land. With Rhea's speed swimming, Rhea willed the 3 of them to be dry and also gave Grover the spare shoes she had. Grover was confused. Why do you have another pair? Rhea was the one who looked confused this time. Did you really think I don't change my shoes or something silly me? Grover deadpanned. You shall go west and face the god who has turned. Rhea said Ares is the god who has turned. People are idiots. They looked at the wrong gods to blame, and the god of war who loves war so much is right there, and no one suspected him. And there he was waiting for them in his black leather duster and his sunglasses, an aluminum baseball bat propped on his shoulder. His motorcycle rumbled beside him, its headlight turning the sand red. Hey kid, Ares said, seeming genuinely pleased to see me. You were supposed to die and you were supposed to return the master bolt and the helm, not steal them for yourself. Ares grinned. Well, now I didn't steal them personally. Gods taking each other's symbols of power, that's a big no-no, but you're not the only hero in the world who can run errands. But that doesn't matter. The point is, kid, you're impeding the war effort. See, you've got to die in the underworld, then old seaweed will be mad at Hades for killing you. Corpse breath will have Zeus's master bolt, so Zeus will be mad at him. And Hades is still looking for this. From his pocket he took out a ski cap, the kind bank robbers wear, and placed it between the handlebars of his bike. Immediately the cap transformed into an elaborate bronze war helmet, the helm of darkness. Grover gasped. Exactly, Ares said. Now where was I? Oh yeah, Hades will be mad at both Zeus and Poseidon because he doesn't know who took this. Pretty soon we got a nice little 3-way slugfest going, but they're your family. Annabeth protested. Ares shrugged. Best kind of war, always the bloodiest. Nothing like watching your relatives fight. I always say I can't believe the gods don't spell their symbol of power to return to the hand of their master once they command it. Rhea shook her head. Am I the only one with a brain here? Poseidonus scoffed. Rhea glared at the bracelet. You shut the fuck up, we still need to talk. She could feel Poseidonus' glare on her. But I have one small question. You look like someone who care about power a lot, so why not just keep the master bolt for yourself? Rhea said. Why send it to Hades, who could have used it in the war? You didn't think that you would get away unscratched? Ares got a twitch in his jaw. For a moment it was almost as if he were listening to another voice deep inside his head. Why didn't I? Yeah, with that kind of firepower. He held the trance for 1 second, 2 seconds, taking his sweet time. Rhea rolled her eyes. Ares's face cleared. I didn't want the trouble. Better to have you caught red-handed holding the thing. Annabeth's eyes widened. Don't tell me the bag. Yes, the bag. I had the master bolt since he gave me the bag, Rhea said. And you said nothing? Annabeth said in disbelief. Don't be dramatic. Sending the bolt to the underworld wasn't his idea to begin with, she scoffed. He doesn't have the brain for that kind of plan, Rhea said with a smirk. Of course it was. Smoke drifted up from his sunglasses as if they were about to catch fire. No, it was not. You didn't order the theft. Someone else with higher power than you sent a hero to steal the 2 items. Then when Zeus sent you to hunt him down, you caught the thief, but you didn't turn him over to Zeus. The thief distracted you long enough for his master to take over your mind and manipulate you, and that's how you kept the items until another hero could come along and complete the delivery. That thing in the pit is ordering you around. I am the god of war. I take orders from no one. I don't have dreams, he snapped. I didn't talk about dreams. Ares looked agitated, but he tried to cover it with a smirk. Let's get back to the problem at hand, kid. You're alive. I can't have you taking that bolt to Olympus. You just might get those hard-headed idiots to listen to you, so I've got to kill you. Nothing personal. He snapped his fingers. The sand exploded at his feet and out charged a wild boar, even larger and uglier than the one whose head hung above the door of cabin 7 at Camp Half-Blood. The beast pawed the sand, glaring at Rhea with beady eyes as it lowered its razor-sharp tusks and waited for the command to kill. Rhea laughed and summoned her trident in hand. Too much of a coward to face me yourself, Ares. He laughed, but she heard a little edge to his laughter, an uneasiness. You've only got one talent, kid. Running away. You ran from the underworld. You don't have what it takes. Having one talent is better than having none, like you, Rhea said, and you haven't even seen what I can do. Scared to lose to a mere half-blood in your adolescent dreams. But his sunglasses were starting to melt from the heat of his eyes. No direct involvement. Sorry kid, you're not at my level. No direct involvement. I guess that's what happens when you're scared to get your hands dirty, Rhea retorted. And as for levels, I may not be at your level of arrogance and cowardice, but I am definitely a few levels above you in courage and heart. Annabeth said. Rhea, run. Tisk, just who do you take me for? Annabeth. Rhea held her ground, waiting for the right moment. As the boar charged towards her with its tusks pointed, she sidestepped at the last second, avoiding the attack. With a swift movement she swung her trident and struck the boar's side, sending it flying several feet away. She dodged the boar's attacks effortlessly, again striking back with deadly accuracy. As the boar lay defeated at her feet, Rhea turned to Ares with a fierce determination. Now are you ready to face me? She asked. Ready to take on whatever challenge Ares might throw her way, or are you going to hide behind another pet? Ares's face was purple with rage. Watch it, kid. I could turn you into a flower pot, a garden gnome, tapeworm, cockroach, duck, dolphin, horse. Please Ares, get creative. I'm getting bored with the usual threats, Rhea quipped with a smirk on her face. Flames danced along the top of his glasses. Oh man, you are really asking to be smashed into a grease spot. If the fates have it that I lose, Rhea nearly laughed. Feel free to turn me into a barnacle on the bottom of your boat, but if by some miracle I win, not only do I claim the helm and the bolt, but you shall also swear to leave us unharmed. Come on, swear on the sticks that you accept the conditions I made. Ares sneered. I swear on the sticks that I accept the conditions you made, he said between his teeth. Lightning was heard around them. Ares swung the baseball bat off his shoulder. How would you like to get smashed, classic or modern?